learnings about the steps and missteps from your life, very quickly.
So before I go there, good morning, everybody. So quick learnings. I would say, okay, I had a good advantage of having worked for 10 years at Zoho, so which means as an entrepreneur, there are lots of big decisions and a lot of small decisions to take. And I think we have been lucky enough that we probably got most of the big decisions correct, like what product to build, what market to be in, which segment to go after, what is our business model, how do we price it, whether to take funding from the right investors when it was available. So I think we got the big decisions correct. We might have made some small mistakes along the way, but I think we have been lucky enough to not get caught into any big controversy. So,
for those of you who want to know more, in on March 8th, 2011, Girish wrote what might look like a very interesting blog post for those who like to follow an entrepreneur's thinking. He laid it out in a very detailed blog post, including how he went about validating his idea, building out a team, and then taking it global. So I would recommend for all those of you, he has a blog. You can go and check out that blog. That will give you a lot more. But one of the very interesting things is how he got this idea. The idea came, the epiphany really came from a small comment on Hacker News. How did that one small comment spark this thought in a market which is already crowded with thousands of service providers? How did it tell you, and one probable 800-pound gorilla, how did it tell you there was space for you still?
Okay. So I think there are two stories I would like to say, right? Well, one is, how did the idea for Freshdesk come about? And two is, what was the kick in the back that I got to actually quit my job and start the company, right? So the slap on my face was that comment. So this was in May 2010 when I was still working. Had no idea of jumping into entrepreneurship. Had 2 kids in school. Just bought a house on mortgage, a 50 lakh loan in March. And also to make things much more easier, today my co-founder, I also convinced him, he was a good friend. I made him also buy a house in the same apartment. So we had 2 mortgages. So what happened was there was a comment on Hacker News about how one of our main competitors today, Zendesk, had increased their prices on their existing customers by up to 300%. Now, as I was reading this, I was seeing that a lot of unhappy customers, and I thought for a customer support company, they don't seem to have a lot of happy customers. Now, that got me thinking that somebody who has built 4 help desks in my career, so I could probably throw in my hat into the ring, not one of these 6 hats, but the other hat, and actually try this. But the idea for Freshdesk happened in 2009, 1 year ago, when I was moving back from the US. So I was shipping my stuff, and long story short, my TV was shipped broken. So I tried contacting the company through phone and email, tried to get my money back because I had insurance. But 5 months passed, and multiple phone calls and emails, my money was not there. So they wouldn't even tell me how to get back the insurance money. So I got frustrated, I want revenge. So I went online to a forum called R2I Club Forum. So, and I detailed my experience with the pictures of my TV. Then this is the forum where I found, the R2I Club Forum is Return to India Club Forum. People who return from the US to India use that forum. This is where I found the recommendation for the shipping company. So what was surprising was immediately the community started responding. The next day, the president of the company came and apologized, and the next day money was in my bank. Now, as somebody who had built 4 help desks, I could see that traditional channels of support did not get me the support that I deserved, but when I took on the brand via a social channel, I could sense that I had social power as a customer. I could see that the same thing was happening on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. So that was the idea for a fresh help desk, which is Freshdesk.
Great. Now, one of the things that happened to you, you started the company in October 2010. You launched in June 2011, immediately won the Microsoft's BizSpark Startup Challenge. But 3-4 months down the line, you're a blogger, came all guns blazing out, and then actively supported by your biggest competitor, Zendesk. Now, calling him a ripoff, calling Freshdesk a ripoff, Most of us Indian entrepreneurs, I believe, would have taken a lot of things lying down. It's like a Muhammad Ali punch to Mr. Vijayendra Singh or something. But Girish and Shan, I think, did not take it lying down. They went all guns blazing, and Gawker.com called it a thermonuclear reaction on Twitter. Just walk us through exactly what you did and what it takes to have that kind of pugnacity and that, never back down attitude.
Okay. So what happened was, so we had raised $1 million round from Axel Partners in October 28, 2011. It was actually Diwali day. So it was a happy Diwali for us. On December 1st, we announced that funding. On December 2nd, there was a blogger from New Zealand who actually called Freshdesk as a rip-off of Zendesk. So his name is Ben Keeps. There's one thing, when I was working with Zoho, he does not know me, but I know him that because we used to contract blogs to him. So I know that he's a paid blogger. So I actually asked him on Twitter, like as a reputed analyst, why would you say we are a rip-off? You have not even tried the product. And as a SaaS company, if somebody has signed up, if Mahesh Murthy has signed up, I can see his email and say, okay, Mahesh has signed up, so I can ask him feedback. So I know that he has not even tried the product. Without trying my product, how can you call me a rip-off? Now, then he actually said, well, your name also has desk in it. So Zendesk has desk and Freshdesk has desk. And that's why you're a rip-off. And he copied the CEO of Zendesk. And so Zendesk CEO came and made this famous statement, wait, what a freaking rip-off, right? So, and there was one more person from Australia who said, Freshdesk is a bunch of Indian cowboys. So, see, for us, our employees were very hot-blooded and young, and they wanted to fight back on Twitter. But we wanted to kind of understand what was happening. Why would somebody come and attack us all of a sudden? They wanted to throw mud on us because they thought we are small fish who will go away, but the Axel funding validated our growth. So I think that's why they attacked us. And I would say the lesson for people in the audience, there are two lessons. One is never attack a smaller competitor. Second, because the small guy is the most dangerous. When you have nothing to lose, you can go out all guns blazing.
Great story. And you know what Gawker.com commented over there? It said, you don't want to bring a knife to a gunfight, but bringing a gun to a knife fight? So as Mr. Mao Zedong said, speak softly but carry a big stick.
Actually, the website, this entire story is there still online at ripoffornot.org. It'll be good reading for you.
And for that very thermonuclear reaction, Girish at the tongue-in-cheek ending, he quoted Mahatma Gandhi to say, first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, then you win. Ahimsa. Now, one of the things I want to ask you, because what you did in the last 4 years, June 2011 when you launched to now, I'll just give you some numbers, guys, okay? And I'll tell you why I'm going to ask this question. And I had to write down these numbers because they're very interesting. So October 2010, the company started. June 2011, product was launched, Microsoft BizSpark. December 2011, $1 million Axel funding. April 2012, 700 customers and 5 million Series B. And Tiger Global joined. June 2012, 1,000 customers. October 2013, 10,000 customers. November 2013, Series C funding 7 million from Axel and Tiger. Series D in June 2014, 31 million, only 185 crores. Tiger, Axel, and Google Capital's first investment outside the Valley. And now, then in October 2014, 30,000 customers. The 30,000th customer was Cisco. April 2015, you raised 50 million. And today, you have more than 50,000 customers in 146 countries, and he's among the top 5 emerging organizations to work for in great places to work. And he's growing year on year 176%. Girish, scale, size, global numbers, funding, so many numbers, so many things. Just tell us how you got your hands around all of this for a guy from Campion High School in Trichy and Shastra University thereafter.
Okay, you seem to be knowing more about our business than me. So,
I still don't know your revenues fully.
yeah, I can tell you, but then I have to kill you. So, okay, let's see, I would be lying if I said that when we started, we we are all this growth is beyond our wildest dreams. Okay, so when we started, we chose to do a help desk because I remember asking my co-founder Shan, who will VC fund a help desk? So we have to charge money from our customers from day one. And I like to quote our superstar Rajnikant here. In one of the movies, he actually says, "Therinja thoila vittavanum kettan, theriyada thoila thottavanum kettan," which means you focus on doing the businesses that you know and don't venture into things that you don't know. So we chose a help desk because I've done it 4 times. It's the only thing we knew, and we thought we can charge customers from day one, unlike a lot of these startups today. So we were not planning on VC funding. So we thought, okay, and the first plan was somehow we will get to $10,000 MRR and we will become profitable. Okay, so this was the plan. I'm not saying, so because the burn at that time was around 5,000, so we thought we were not taking salaries, the early employees were taking a big cut.
I must interject here. He comes from the Zoho school of startup funding to some extent, but he has diverged from that. Second, he was very proud when they moved into a $160 per month rental office. That's also there in a posting.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, so basically when what we understood was as a SaaS company, I had 6 people in 2011 when we launched the product. All these 6 people were people who knew me before, who had worked with me, went to different companies, came back. They were all taking a big pay cut. Now, the nature of SaaS business is that you spend, for example, $200 or $300 to acquire a customer who gives you $30 or $40 a month. So the costs are very front loaded. Its marketing costs are front loaded. So which means you need money to keep growing. So there's not enough to plow back if you run out of your capital, right? So, and the thought process in my mind was, okay, these guys are all believing me and running with me now in a nondescript place in Kirkatlai where there was power cuts and no water some days and so how long will the morale be there? So if we are going to sit and do this for 2 years, 3 years, maybe we can bootstrap. Maybe there will be word of mouth. We can cross the break-even point. But I was risking morale, and guys were going to get married and so on. So there was an option to get VC funded. For us, all the VC interest till date has come inbound. So thanks to things like Ripoff or Not or us winning the Microsoft BizSpark. So I think I can give you a Rajni quote for that, but later. So basically, all of it was inbound interest. So when this happened, I had a conversation with the 6 early co-founders or 6 early employees, where we thought, okay, we come from the Zoho school, no doubt about that, but this seems like a new way, and I've always believed in having an open mind and trying out things. So let's take rocket fuel, and which means we are signing up for fast growth. We have to understand that we have to grow fast. If we fail, maybe the rocket will sink into Bay of Bengal. And so we all type a resume and go back to work. Are you guys okay with that? So we decided that, okay, we had a conversation and said, okay, let's try this. This seems exciting than bootstrapping and struggling. And we were only looking at it as an educational experience, a learning experience to see how this whole VC funding thing works. We were fortunate enough that we were able to pick top-notch investors like Accel Partners, Tiger Global, and Google Capital.
Okay, I think we are going to run out of time. I have a couple of other things. One of the things that he mentioned in August 2015 about sharing, creating and sharing wealth. He said, I want all my employees to have BMWs. Okay, walk us through your philosophy, you know, as an owner of an enterprise and how you kind of have this philosophy of creating and sharing wealth.
See, I think there are many great entrepreneurs in India who have done this, but especially in tech startups, we have all seen the Silicon Valley doing this, right? So when Twitter creates 1,600 millionaires in San Francisco. So I think my goal when I started the company, I really told this to my wife that I'm not starting this for me to get a BMW. I wanted to do this so that all my employees can get a BMW. The BMW is a literal, meaning it's not literally a BMW, meaning wealth creation for the employees. I think the whole point of entrepreneurship is to grow the pie large enough so everybody gets to win. And when I say everybody, I mean the shareholders, the founders, and the employees. And I think we as entrepreneurs in the room should look at that. It's not about the founders alone making the money or the investors alone making the money. And it's a great opportunity to create wealth. And the most important reason why we need to create wealth is to inspire the next set of people to actually aim to do that. So, and I think I want one of my fundamental beliefs is if Freshdesk is really going to be a successful SaaS product company out of India, we want a lot more people to believe that if this guy can do it, I can also do it.
Great, because I'm going to end with some couple of things. Your role has suddenly started changing. You are now kind of an industry facilitator, SaaSX. You had a conference with some of the other enterprise B2B software companies here. You become an angel investor. You're active also with startups quite a bit. Now, what do you think, like you said just now, to create more billion-dollar babies from out of Chennai, what needs to be done to make Chennai's ecosystem a lot better?
Okay. So let's talk about the ecosystem first. So when we started out 2010 or 2011, I think I would say, where is the ecosystem? Like there were few people like Dorai Todla and others who were actually doing some things, but we didn't know that there was something. And I will also tell you a very interesting story where in 2011, there are many VCs who would say that they would like to come and meet us. But one day before, like if the meeting is on Monday, on Sunday afternoon, I'll get an email saying, sorry, something happened and I felt sick and I couldn't come. So basically, but this was a pattern. Many people said that. So it was very hard for VCs to justify a trip to Chennai to only meet one company. So they thought they could use their time better off meeting multiple companies. But I think it has changed a lot over the last 3-4 years. So my role, I would say, definitely, I don't consider myself a very active investor. Money is probably the last thing that I want to give to a startup, meaning I think I like to help startup. The money is to keep me focused on helping them, and I choose I only choose to invest in companies that I believe I can help. But more importantly, I definitely want to help a lot more, but today, because of time, I'm not able to do one-on-one mentoring. So I think iSpirit has a great initiative where we're able to do one-to-many. So like SaaSX or PN Growth. So we are trying to help like 50 entrepreneurs or 12 entrepreneurs at a time through roundtables. So I think we have made a lot of progress. And I think there's only one responsibility for the ecosystem is to celebrate entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs doing today. Because, see, today it seems like easy. Like somebody was telling me it's like the Rajinikanth movie where in one song he becomes rich, suddenly you guys have come out of nowhere. But our overnight success took us 5 years. And there are so many people fighting in the trenches with the belief that they are going to make it one day. And the only way for them to keep charging forward is when they get these events which are celebrating entrepreneurship. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, great. And one last question. In all this, you know, I remember you were mentioning in an interview your 2 sons or sometimes cry when you go to work on a Saturday or Sunday. How exactly was it difficult for you to manage your work, entrepreneur balance, or is there no balance?
So I think it's a really hard, the hardest thing for an entrepreneur is family time, right? Today is my wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary to Girish.
So, but my wife said, go and get the award and afternoon we will celebrate, right? So I think initially it was very, very tough because of lifestyle changes, right? So like I had a company car and you have to make the adjustment to a smaller car, there's no salary. Try explaining to a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old that why you have to travel when everybody else's father is at home by 6:30 or 7 playing with them, taking them to the mall, right? And sometimes you are so tired and you don't want to go to the mall on a Saturday and Sunday. So I think it's really tough, but having this conversation and making them understand that like your daddy is working harder than everybody else so that he's going to become, so basically you have to have those conversations to make them realize that it's not okay to be average. You have to try, you have to work hard, and only then you win. So I tell my kids that all the time, and I think they are proud of that.
Great, Girish. Thank you so much. And put your hands together for the billion-dollar baby from Chennai.